Yep. I think we put the exercise on the hold. What do you think?
At 7:59 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 takes off from Logan Airport. 14 minutes later, Boston Air Traffic Control loses radio contact. Although it takes seconds to punch in a 4-digit distress signal, Captain John Oganowski does no such thing.
Commercial pilots do have the ability to push a button to communicate to air traffic controllers that their plane has been hijacked. But apparently, none of the pilots this morning even had a chance to send the signal.
Boston Air Traffic Control watches as Flight 11 turns off its identify friend or foe signal and its transponder, which transmits the plane's exact location and altitude before veering off course. By 8:21, it should be clear that Flight 11 had a serious problem. At 8:26, Flight 11 makes an unexpected 100-degree turn to the south, and the following statement is allegedly broadcast.
We have some planes that stay quiet and will be okay. We are turning to the airport. Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll injure yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet.
At 8:34, Boston Air Traffic Control finally contacts the military at Otis Air Force Base. They also contact an airbase in Atlantic City, where 2 fighters are doing practice runs over the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Although minutes from New York City, they are not diverted. At 8:37, Boston finally contacts NEADS, the northeastern branch of NORAD.
Hi, Boston Center Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to... We need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise, not a test.
What? What was that? Not real world. Real world hijack. Cool.
At 8:39, while traveling south along the Hudson River, Flight 11 flies directly over Indian Point, a nuclear power plant in Buchanan, New York. Had the hijackers crashed into Indian Point, an immediate 50-mile radius containing approximately 20 million people could have been contaminated.
I've never seen so much real-world stuff happen during an exercise.
Although it was clear that Flight 11 was headed towards New York City, fighter jets from Otis will not actually launch until 8:52, 6 minutes after Flight 11 slams into the North Tower. Why was it not intercepted? The 9/11 Commission claims there simply wasn't enough time. Not only should the military have been notified by 8:21, but even if they were notified at 8:38, fighters should have scrambled long before 8:52. Through all of this, where is the President of the United States? In his limousine, on his way to Booker Elementary School in Sarasota, Florida. Before entering the building, he is aware that one of the Twin Towers had been struck by a plane. In fact, Bush would claim more than once that he witnessed the first strike live on television.
My Chief of Staff, Andy Card, I was in a classroom talking about a reading program that works. I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. The TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident.
This is impossible unless President Bush saw something the public has not. The video of the first attack was not broadcast until later that evening. At 8:13, United Airlines Flight 175 takes off from Logan Airport. At 8:42, it makes a drastic turn off course. According to NORAD's initial press release, they were notified at 8:43 that Flight 175 was hijacked. The 9/11 Commission will deny this entirely. At 8:47, Flight 175 turns off its transponder for 30 seconds and then turns it back on using a different signal. Already drastically off course, it makes a complete U-turn towards New York City. 15 minutes before impact, it should be clear that Flight 175 is in distress.
This is what I got.
You hear but that input was
Possible news that 737 just hit the World Trade Center. This is real world. And we're trying to confirm this. Okay, continue taking the fighters down to the New York City area, JFK area, as best as you can. Just do what we got to do, okay? Just press with us. It looks like this guy could have hit the World Trade Center.
Nasipany clearly sees a threat and not only sends the fighters to New York City, but mentions the World Trade Center. NORAD will later claim that they are unaware of Flight 175's situation until it crashes into the South Tower.
Cannot remember. 2 planes? He was in Whiskey 105. Get the fuck out. I think this was a damn input.
Jet fighters are still 60 miles away.
And at that point, they said the second aircraft just hit the World Trade Center. That was news to me. I thought we were still chasing American 11.
3 minutes after the impact of Flight 175, Chief of Staff Andrew Card leans into President Bush's ear, whispering for a few seconds and walking away. President Bush continues to listen to My Pet Goat. Despite the fact that both of the Twin Towers had been hit, and another plane was in the air and suspected to be hijacked, he will remain at the school for an additional half hour, broadcasting a national speech from the library at 9:30. How could the Secret Service allow this? President Bush's itinerary had been public knowledge since September 7th. How was Booker Elementary not considered a target? In contrast, cabinet officials are immediately swept up by Secret Service and hustled to secure locations.
My Secret Service agents came in, and they, under these circumstances, they just move. They don't say, sir, or ask politely. They came in and said, sir, we have to leave immediately, and grabbed me and hoisted me up and moved me very rapidly down the hallway, down some stairs, through some doors, and down some more stairs into an underground facility under the White House. And it's in effect, a corridor, locked at both ends. And they did that because they'd received a report that an airplane was headed for the White House.
And we're also lost American 77.
Okay, 77. American 77 ahead.
At 8:21, American Airlines Flight 77 takes off from Dulles International Airport. At 8:50, air traffic control loses radio contact near the Kentucky-Ohio border, and 4 minutes later, it begins turning off course. Flight 77's transponder shuts off and disappears completely from radar. Indianapolis flight controllers begin notifying government agencies that Flight 77 is missing and possibly crashed. Yet, they do not notify the FAA or NORAD. 3 F-16s from Langley Air Force Base, 165 miles from the Pentagon, finally go airborne at 9:30. They are accidentally directed over the Atlantic Ocean and will not reach Washington, D.C. for another half hour. Had the fighters from Langley traveled less than half full speed in the right direction, they would have reached the Pentagon before it was struck.
And in terms of what motivated me to bring all the aircraft down, as you see one thing happen, that's an accident. When you see 2 of the same thing occur, it's a pattern. But when you see 3 of the same thing occur, it's a program. And so at that point, I decided to bring all the aircraft down.
And so, at 9:45, all airborne planes were forced to land. This order applied to all civilian aircraft. Certain military planes were allowed to remain airborne. By 12:16 that afternoon, the FAA managed to ground over 4,000 planes without incident.